Bang! Neeves Knives. My name is Kara, and my amazing husband Jared is here too.
What's up?
And today I am reviewing the Kizer Lieb. This knife is going to be a good review, let me just tell you now. I really enjoy it. So to start the review here, let's start off with the appearance, since that's like the first thing you usually see. Now, the first time I ever saw this knife was actually in a coworker's hand. I recently gave her the knife bug and she started getting into knives. I showed her this picture online and she immediately got it just based off appearance. And that was the Jade G10 version. I was super jealous, so I went ahead and got one too, and got the micarta version, because I really, really like micarta. So based off the micarta one here, we can see that it's kind of like halfway in between polished and rough. It's sort of interesting. It's not raw. They definitely have some sort of smooth something on it. I don't even know what you call that. It almost reminds me of Mod Podge, if you know what that is. But I do like it. It does seem like it'll still wear in, which I really like when that happens with micarta over time. The other thing that's really cool is the pop of blue. I really like that with the micarta rather than just leaving it plain. I think that gives it a nice little personality. I appreciate that they didn't overdo the hardware, just 2 simple screws on each side, and then the ones for the clips, which I believe these are T6s, and then a T8 on the pivot, of course. Alright, so let's move on to some other things. So the way it carries is really good, okay? This clip right here fits in my pocket perfectly. And let me explain something to you about female pockets. Obviously, they are tighter on our legs typically. Now, when that happens and you're walking and your leg is moving, it can inch up the knife throughout the day. And that's a common issue, so females tend to typically need stronger and tighter holding clips than men. A clip you might find annoyingly tight, I might find awesome because I don't have to worry about it popping out halfway through the day. This one is actually the perfect medium in between not popping out on its own, but also not being ridiculously hard to get out of my pocket. So I give this clip a thumbs up. Alright, let's move on to some other parts of the knife here. We have the blade, which Jared likes to lovingly call what?
Drop foot.
A drop foot, which is a mixture of a drop point and a sheep's foot, which is, by the way, probably one of my favorite blade shapes for using. The blade is N690. It is 2 3/8 inches long, and the overall length is 5 3/4. So this is a small guy, but small does not mean not useful. So let me show you here a couple comparisons. Here is the Kizer Fire Ant, which is a small knife, so you can see here that this one is even smaller than the Fire Ant. Let's do the Benchmade Griptilian, since you all know that.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully, right? So you can see it's smaller than the mini grip.
Yeah, that's the mini
grip. This is the mini grip. So that right there gives you a pretty good idea. I'll do one more. I'll do the Elementum since it's become so popular. And you can see there how much smaller it is. And then lastly, we will do the Kizer Sheepdog because it's probably the closest in size I have in shape. So it's even smaller than that. All right, let's get all these closed. Okay, so back to the blade. I want to talk about not only the look. It's got a really nice, I don't even know what this is, kind of like a satin, but it's not like mirror, which is nice. I don't really like mirror blades because I tend to use my blades, and you can see that even with this satin polish that, like, look at all the scratches on it. So I definitely would have preferred stonewash, but I can always do that on my own, so not a huge deal. As far as the actual usage of the blade, it is a flat grind, and it's about 16 thousandths behind the edge, which makes it an incredible slicer. Now, let me explain to you guys. When I first brought this thing to work, and the first time I actually sliced it through some really thick cardboard, I felt like all I was using was just the weight of the knife alone to do it. And I don't know the exact weight of the knife, but it is not heavy, let me tell you. And it just was falling through things, just falling through it. It has really, so I'm going to talk about ergos as well, since that has to do with using it. So the grips I most commonly use would be kind of like a 3-4 finger grip like this to slice and do a push cut. Sometimes I do pull my finger in front of the flipper tab, which as long as you don't have like a huge finger, it does work and you won't get cut. Same thing I'll use for a push cut or pulling back like that. Now I've also used a reverse grip like this to pop through plastic straps, and let me tell you, this swoop right here, super comfortable for a backwards pull cut. And I have no complaints on the use whatsoever, let me tell you. The tip, this downward tip, is also fantastic to grip like this. You can even kind of use this hole right here as a point for your thumb, and you can do really nice, precise scoring, which is awesome. So many uses to this. Okay, so another thing that I want to talk about is the flipper tab and the action. So I really like how the scale has this swoop in it that's almost kind of a flush shape with the flipper tab. It makes it to where your finger can easily slide down and open the knife, and you can kind of build up pressure there and fling down, which is really satisfying. The other thing you can do is just a straight push button, or without putting your finger up here, you can just go to the flipper tab and do a light switch. And let me tell you, this action is incredibly smooth. We can't really find for sure what type of washers are in here. We are pretty sure that it's, what do we say, phosphor bronze? Yeah. Jared is like 100% sure, but we just never found it online, really. It just said washers. Anyway, so I want to explain though, if you have never had a knife with washers from Kizer, you're missing out. It's basically bearings. It might as well be, except for it has the plus side of not getting as dirty. I have another Kizer knife with phosphor bronze washers, and it is one of the most smoothest actions that I've had. It's the Kizer V3 Gore, and I have to say that this definitely rivals it in its smoothness. I absolutely love it. Okay, so another thing I want to bring up about this knife is I commonly get the question about how to get my wife, my girlfriend, whatever, a girl in your life, into knives. Now, let me tell you, this Kizer Lieb is the one, okay? I mentioned before that my friend got it. She just got into knives. She only had like 2 other knives, and she got this thing just based off the appearance alone. It has an appeal to females. Like, you can trust me on that, okay? It also has a nice small size. It doesn't have an intimidating blade shape. That downward tip is really useful, where most girls, if like they have like a thread hanging off their shirt, you know, and you make this, you put it in their purse, they're gonna pull it out and be like, oh yeah, I have this, boop, and pop the thread off. And I'm telling you right now, this is that knife. It's only $55. Well, I won't say only, because it is kind of small. So it's $55, so it's not crazy. But I'm telling you, this is the one, this is the gateway knife for females. It's amazing. And as I mentioned before, it also does come in JG10 with the blue pivot color as well. So you could purchase one and dye it really any color you want.
How much is that one?
Same price.
Oh, the G10 is the same price as the Micarta?
They're both $55. So yeah, that is really all I have to say. I don't know if I mentioned the screw size, T6, T8 on the pivot. Jared, do you have anything you want to say?
I carried it just a couple times. But the action on this thing, I mean, it's a little small for me, but I still carried it because it is such a good little knife. But the action is what stands out the most to me. I'm not very impressed with the Micarta. The Micarta is kind of...
it also came with glue on it. Do you remember that?
Yeah, so for bad things, I'm going to go into the bad things here in just a second. But the one thing that really stands out to me is the detent. It is so crisp. It's almost impossible to fail, even though it is on phosphor bronze. It acts like it's on bearings. Like you would think it was on bearings. I mean, you can see from this light blade how easily it just slaps down, and you can hear the detent. But going into the bad, there's not very much bad here. T6s, I don't really like T6s. And then it did come with a little bit of glue right here.
There's still some on it by the pivot. on this side.
Okay.
If you look in the light.
But yeah, as soon as we open it up out of the package, like it literally like would stick to everything. Like it was like, I don't know, some type of adhesive or glue that was on it. But I don't think that has anything to do with the actual micarta. But the micarta just kind of seems generic to me. It's not really high quality micarta. It's not like this kind of micarta or like a bunch of other companies micarta. And I know it's not for the price because you just seen the QSP Penguin. They came out with beautiful micarta for $30.
It's because they put that whatever on it, that shininess kind of cheapens the look of it. I think if they left it raw, it would seem higher quality.
If they wouldn't polish it so much.
You could probably sand it off.
Yeah, you definitely could and rough it up a little bit.
Because you can see by the clip where it is worn down. You see on the sides of the clip,
well,
so you can see that it's
yeah.
possible.
And that would make it a lot nicer, which wouldn't take much effort. It would just take a little 300 grit sandpaper, wipe it a little bit, it'd be fine. But the what was I about to say? No, I don't even remember. But other than that, though, really, this is definitely a winner. I do really like it. In my hands, like I said, it's only a 3-fingered knife, but a lot of people like knives like this because they like to hold it like this and use it like that, which this is a very useful blade shape. It's sharpened up really, really nicely. The grind was nice and even on both sides, so I was very impressed with that. For $55, it is definitely worth it. Very, very cool knife.
Do you agree with my synopsis about getting it for a girl for the first time?
Yeah, it's definitely a great knife for a girl. It has internal stop pins, I forgot to say that, which makes it have a very good lockup. It's nice and strong. Yeah, and a great sound. But the flipper tab is also, if you look at how chamfered it is all the way around, it makes it to where it's nice and comfortable. And since it's so easy to flick, like you can barely touch it, but rubbing it right here, it's like nice and smooth. Like, and it doesn't matter that it doesn't have jimping because it definitely does not require jimping. But that's about it. All right, guys.
Thanks, guys. If you enjoyed what you saw here or learned anything new, go ahead and give us a like, a subscribe, or even a comment. We love talking to you guys in the comments.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Peace.